The settlement on Broken Ridge had stood for 3 years without incident, a testament to careful planning and the natural barrier of the canyon that surrounded it on 3 sides. The colonists had believed themselves safe. They were wrong. Marcus Webb stood at the edge of the barricade, his breathing labored as he surveyed the carnage below. Bodies of the creatures lay scattered across the valley floor, their chitinous armor cracked and leaking phosphorescent fluid that glowed sickly green in the fading light. He had counted them as he fought. 297. 3 more remained between him and the children. The distress beacon had reached him while he was 3 valleys over, running routine patrol for the colony. A mother's voice, breaking with static and terror, screaming that the swarm had broken through the eastern defenses. Her twins were trapped in the old weather station, cut off from the main settlement. She was pinned down in the residential sector. Someone had to reach them before nightfall, before the creatures evolved their hunting patterns and learned, too. Open-sealed doors. Marcus had been the only one close enough to respond. The journey back had been a nightmare of narrow passes and ambush points. The creatures, called Rippers by the colonists for obvious reasons, had spread through the valley like a plague. They stood roughly 4 feet tall on powerful hind legs, with elongated skulls and arms that ended in blade-like protrusions capable of shearing through standard armor plating. They hunted in packs, coordinated their attacks, and adapted with terrifying speed. He had killed the first wave of 23 in the narrow defile leading to the valley. The second wave of 47 had caught him in open ground near the water reclamation plant. By the time he reached the settlement's outer perimeter, his armor was scored with deep gouges, his left shoulder dislocated, and his primary weapon down to 15% charge. The twins, Billy and Emma Rogers, were 6 years old. Their mother, Dr. Lisa Rogers, was the settlement's chief xenobiologist. She had been studying tissue samples from a Ripper corpse when the swarm attacked, trying to find a weakness. Ironic that her research station had become her children's prison. Marcus had fought his way through the residential sector, past overturned vehicles and shattered windows. The colonists who couldn't reach the central bunker had barricaded themselves in their homes. He found clusters of dead Rippers at every doorway, evidence that the settlers had fought back hard. But the numbers kept growing. He encountered the largest concentration near the Commerce District. 96 of the creatures, drawn by the scent of trapped humans in the supply warehouse. They noticed him immediately. The next 40 minutes became a blur of movement, gunfire, and desperate improvisation. He used the terrain, channeling them into kill zones, collapsing a storage crane onto a group of 20, setting fire to a fuel depot to create a barrier that bought him precious seconds to reload. When his rifle finally died, its power cell completely drained, he switched to the plasma cutter he carried for emergency hull breaches. Less range, more brutal. The wounds it inflicted cauterized instantly, filling the air with the stench of burning alien flesh. His dislocated shoulder ground with every movement, sending white-hot spikes of pain through his nervous system. He ignored it. Pain was information. Information could wait. The weather station came into view as he cleared the Commerce District. It sat on a small rise, a squat concrete structure designed to withstand the violent storms that occasionally tore through the valley. The door was sealed, just as the mother had promised. But the Rippers had found it. They circled the building in a loose perimeter, occasionally throwing themselves at the walls, testing for weakness. Marcus counted 34. Plus the 3 between him and the building made 37. Combined with the 263 he had already put down, that would bring his total to exactly 300. He had 1 fragmentation grenade left, a half-charged plasma cutter, and a combat knife. His armor's servo assist had failed in his right leg, making every step a grinding effort. Blood ran down his side from a wound he didn't remember receiving. The tactical computer in his helmet had shorted out 2 fights ago. The numbers didn't matter. The pain didn't matter. Those children were waiting, and he had promised their mother he would reach them. He primed the grenade and threw it into the thickest concentration of rippers. The explosion tore through 15 of them, scattering the others in confusion. Marcus charged through the gap, plasma cutter screaming. He took the nearest ripper's head off with a horizontal slash, kicked the corpse into 2 more approaching from his flank, and drove the superheated blade through the thorax of a 4th. They swarmed him then, all tactical coordination abandoned in favor of overwhelming force. Claws raked across his back, found gaps in his armor. He spun, cutting a wide arc that bisected 3 more. Something heavy hit him from behind, driving him to his knees. He rolled, came up cutting, and removed the legs from the creature that had jumped him. The blade grew dimmer with each strike, its power cell nearly exhausted. He drew his knife with his offhand and worked in tandem, plasma and steel, fighting with the desperate efficiency of a man who knew that stopping meant death. When the last ripper fell, Marcus stood alone in a circle of corpses. 22 at his feet. 300 total. He limped to the weather station door and hammered on it with his fist. Billy, Emma, it's Marcus Webb, Colony Security. Your mother sent me. I'm going to get you home. The door cracked open. 2 small faces peered up at him, eyes wide with terror and hope. Emma clutched a stuffed animal. Billy held a wrench he had probably intended to use as a weapon. Marcus knelt, wincing as his injuries protested. We need to move fast. Stay close to me, do exactly what I say, and don't look at anything on the ground. Understand? They nodded. Mute. The journey back to the central bunker took an hour. Marcus carried Emma when her legs gave out from exhaustion. Billy walked beside him, one small hand gripping the torn fabric of Marcus's armor. They encountered no more rippers. The swarm had committed everything to the attack, and everything had died. The bunker door opened to reveal Dr. Rogers, her face streaked with tears and soot. She saw her children and collapsed to her knees, gathering them into her arms with a sob that seemed torn from her soul. Marcus swayed, suddenly aware of how much blood he had lost. Medics rushed forward, but he waved them toward the civilians who had sustained injuries during the siege. His wounds could wait a few more minutes. Dr. Rogers approached him after the children had been checked by the medical staff. She looked at him for a long moment, this man who had fought through 300 monsters to save her babies. Words seemed inadequate. She reached up and removed something from around her neck. It was a pendant, simple but elegant, made from a rare crystalline mineral found only in the deepest caves of Broken Ridge. It caught the light and refracted it into 1,000 tiny rainbows. This was my grandmother's, she said quietly. She gave it to my mother, who gave it to me. It's supposed to go to my daughter when she's old enough. She pressed it into his hand. But I want you to have it. Not because it's valuable, though it is. Because it's a reminder that family isn't just blood. You became family today. Marcus looked down at the pendant, then at the woman who had just given him her most precious possession. He thought about refusing, but the look in her eyes stopped him. This wasn't about the value of the object. This was about acknowledgement, about gratitude so profound that words couldn't contain it. I'll keep it safe, he said. She smiled through fresh tears. You already did. The colony rebuilt over the following months. The Ripper Swarm had been a once-in-a-generation event, a migration pattern that wouldn't repeat for decades. New defenses went up. Protocols were updated. Life continued. Marcus Webb recovered from his injuries, though the scars remained. He wore them without shame. The pendant hung around his neck, a constant weight against his chest. Whenever he saw Billy and Emma in the settlement, racing through the streets in the games children play when they feel safe, He touched it and remembered. 300 monsters between him and 2 children. The choice had never been a choice at all. And the reward. He thought as he watched Emma's mother wave to him from across the square. Her children laughing beside her had indeed been worth every scar.